Boom goes the dynamite. Trade season has officially kicked off with a pair of blockbuster deals. Nope, the Sacramento Kings aren't involved, but has a dam broke?
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I am James Hammy, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320, the Kings Beat, and of course, host of Locked On Kings. We've got a huge trade, so we're going to start the show with that. The trade season has officially started. Number two, we're going to dive into what happens if Darius Acuff Jr. gets swooped and the Kings have to go in a different direction. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the second round, which of course does not take place on Tuesday. It will take place on Wednesday. But of course, tomorrow's show will be consumed completely with whoever the Kings get at number 7, and maybe if they make a trade. All right, let's dive into this. It started with a blockbuster early in the evening when the Timberwolves sent Julius Randle, who has played extremely well for them, to the Brooklyn Nets, along with the number 28 pick. Nick Claxton is on his way to the Bulls, and the transaction cleared the space for the Timberwolves to extend Ayo Dosunmu to a 5-year, $112 million extension. This is all according to Shams Charania from ESPN. So crazy big trade. Claxton goes to the Bulls. The Nets take on a big contract in Julius Randle and eat a bunch of the cap space that they have. Minnesota was able to successfully do this trade without taking a player back. And if they did take a player back, it might be a small, addition here or there, league minimum type deal. So pretty big deal. Then this was kind of like the big sort of like, I don't know, it shook the ground a little bit, right? It maybe broke the seal a little bit. And then all of a sudden, the big shoe dropped. And that is, of course, according to Shams Charania, that the Bucks have finally made the move to blow up their franchise. They have sent Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Miami Heat, along with Bobby Portis, for Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez, Casper Yakashionis, 3 first-round picks, a first-round pick swap, and a second-round pick. This realistically is earth-shattering in the NBA, and hopefully it clears the road for chaos. The night before draft, the night before the NBA draft, we have chaos. This could be the harbinger of more chaos. I'm here for it. Basically, the Bucks got to a point where they had no choice. Giannis has been pushing this direction for the last year and a half, maybe 2 years. They tried to do some quick fix things like signing Damian Lillard to trading for Damian Lillard and giving him an extension. That backfired when Lillard got hurt. He had now, of course, was bought out last season and is now part of the Portland Trailblazers again. But this really does shake everything up. The Bucks now hold the 10th pick and the 13th pick to jumpstart their rebuild. And look, they might not be done dealing. They have other, players that may be on their way out the door too. It might actually be time for a fire sale. And if the rumors out there are true, Tyler Hero might be shipped to another location. I don't know about Khalil Ware. Jaime Jaquez would be a very nice addition to a bunch of teams, including the Sacramento Kings. Very, very good young player who I think came in second place in Sixth Man of the Year last year. The reason I bring this up, because of course this is Locked On Kings. Why exactly are we talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo? And look, I think the league has been on hold waiting for this moment for a year or more. And now that it's happened, maybe the logjam, the bottleneck will open up and teams will start moving forward without this gigantic transaction hanging over their head. I think there could be another 1 or 2 major transactions. Again, the team that lost out in this deal, the team that thought that they had a very good shot at acquiring Giannis Antetokounmpo, was the Boston Celtics. What are they going to do with Jaylen Brown now that he's not being packaged and sent somewhere else. Can they heal that wound? Is it too late? Are they going to have to move him? And will that create another scenario like this? But I think what we are seeing is the ground is starting to move. And that is a very good thing because the Kings have a bunch of trades they would like to pull off. Whether they can pull off any of them is unknown at this time. But there are teams out there that have been waiting to either be part of this as a three-team trade partner or part of this deal as, again, like there's rumors that the Los Angeles Clippers were trying to get in on this deal and were possibly offering up the number 5 pick to get Jaylen Brown. And what would that have looked like? What would that have meant for the Kings if all of a sudden it's not a team like the Los Angeles Clippers at number 5? What if it was the Milwaukee Bucks, who of course have, rumor have a very fond affinity for Mr. Darius Acuff. So look, I don't know if this is going to open the door for a Domantas Sabonis trade or a Zach LaVine trade or DeMar DeRozan trade, but I think once we clear this hurdle now, and there are going to be a lot of teams who are realizing where they stand in the league, what the Miami Heat look like, and how you need to make adjustments for that. What just happened to the Milwaukee Bucks and their team? What will happen to the Boston Celtics now that they're out of the race? So even again, the Detroit Pistons, who were rumored to be a team willing to take on Tyler Hero and maybe give up a first-round pick for him. What does that mean for the Detroit Pistons? Are they still in on Hero? Is that still an option? Or since this is a 2-team trade, do the Pistons have to look somewhere else? Does that open a door for maybe a potential sign-in trade for Zach LaVine, who, again, the Pistons seemingly have had interest in over the last week or two? So I do think that this is going to be like the moment, and it could not have come at a more perfect time. I'm glad it's out of the way the day before the draft. The Bucks now have the 10th pick and the 13th pick. And again, they loaded up on picks, but most of the picks are, I think, 2031 and 33. I'm not sure when the pick swap is. Second round pick is out there somewhere too. But look, this is a big moment. Even the Miami Heat, they just did a 4-for-1 or 4-for-2 swap. They got Bobby Portis as well. Now they've actually have a little bit of cap space, and they're going to have to figure out, or at least a little bit of money under the luxury tax and the first apron. Now they're going to have to figure out how to fill out the rest of their roster. Maybe that's something that intrigues them. Maybe one of the Kings players intrigues them and they want to get in on something like that. So look, the league is always changing and targets are always changing, and the Bucks, the Heat, they likely aren't done. The Celtics, who lost it out, they're probably not done. But the trade market just got a huge reset button. And again, it comes on the eve of the biggest night so far of the offseason, outside of the NBA Finals. This is the biggest night. It's the NBA draft, where all 30 teams are sitting here starting to figure out what it is that they're going to add to their team. And this is a pretty substantial deal. So hopefully we start seeing some movement. Again, we've heard all kinds of things. I relay things to you as we go through this process, whether it's Domas, whether it's ideas of ways to move off of Zach LaVine's contract or DeMar DeRozan's contract. But we're literally now getting to it. And again, it's crazy because once the draft happens on Tuesday night, we're looking at just a couple of days before free agency starts. And that moment between the draft and free agency is where a lot of movement can potentially happen. So teams can, clear up space and get ready for free agency, which starts the 30th and officially can't really kick off until the moratorium lifts on July 6th. So crazy big day in the NBA, crazy day for the Bucks, who have now reset everything. And I think the one last thing I'd add is the Kings. It's possible that the Kings are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this coming year. I think the Bucks just entered that conversation as well. They are not going to be a very good team. And that matters because that relegation zone, the bottom 3 teams, have the worst odds of winning the lottery, and you don't want to be in there. So if the Kings aren't going to be a good team, maybe they will, maybe they won't be. We'll have to wait and see. But if they're not going to be a good team, you want as many bad teams around you as possible. So, all right, let's step aside. When we come back, what happens if Darius Acuff Jr. gets picked before the Kings select at number 7? Because it is a legitimate possibility, and we probably need to dive into the what if Acuff is off the board. Be right back. The World Cup is here, and it's the most electric time in soccer. On KALSHI, you can trade every single match and the championship game. This is crazy. We've got Switzerland playing Team Canada. Switzerland is trading at 40% probability to beat Canada, meaning that if you put $100 in, it pays out up to $239.92 if they win. As the World Cup heats up, those numbers move in real time, and you can buy in or out at any time. On KALSHI, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probabilities change, you can buy in and out of your position unlimited times. And now for a limited time, download the KALSHI app and use the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, to get $10 when you trade 10. That's KALSHI, KALSHI, KALSHI. Trade on everything. You must be 18 or over. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, go to kalshi.com/regulatory. Today's episode is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. There are certain flavors that instantly feel like summer. And for a lot of people, those classic red, white, and blue freezer pops are right at the top of the list. Sweet cherry, lime, and blue raspberry. It's one of those nostalgic summer flavors everybody recognizes. Now, 5 Hour Energy is bringing that flavor combination into the new Firework Freeze 5 Hour Energy shot, blending sweet cherry, zesty lime, and electric blue raspberry into one refreshing shot inspired by those iconic summer pops. The flavor instantly takes me back to riding my bike all day long out in the gravel and the dirt, out in the sticks where I grew up, staying out until almost dark and praying the ice cream man and that awesome tune would come around the corner at any time to deliver one of those freezer pops. Absolutely nostalgic, super nostalgic. Ignite your taste buds with the flavor of summer. Get a Firework Freeze 5 Hour Energy shot today. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com. All right, we have the most incredible NBA draft guide for you, and it's free. It's loaded. Every pick in a mock draft with player comps, one-sentence summary, strengths, weaknesses. It has it all. Know everything you need to know about the NBA draft from the experts at no ceilings. It's the Locked On NBA Draft Guide. Get it for free at lockedonpodcast.com/NBA Draft Guide. That's lockedonpodcast.com/NBA Draft Guide. All right. Let's get uncomfortable. The Kings want Acuff. Acuff wants the Kings. 6 other teams stand between the Kings and the happiest of happy unions. What if it all goes wrong? First up, the Kings and Acuff stuff is so over the top that it's hard to imagine that it's smokescreen. Then again, maybe it is, right? But I don't think so. I mean, there are too many things that are going on here. I've had conversations. A lot of people within the walls love Acuff. They love the scoring. They love everything that he brings to the table. He has a dog mentality. They think he can instantly step in and be a starting NBA point guard, even at 19 years old, because he walks into Arkansas as a 19-year-old and averaged 23.5 points a game, shot 48.4% from the field, shot 44% from three, something like that, 3-level scorer. 6.5 rebounds a game, 3-to-1 assist turnover ratio. It just keeps going and going and going. This is a player that in a different draft might be the number 1 overall pick, or the number 2 overall pick. And if it weren't for the top 4 in this draft, realistically, he probably would be way up higher than the number 7 pick. I'd also make the claim that, again, if circumstances were different for maybe a team like the Clippers at number 5, that Acuff would be one of the odds-on favorites to be taken with the 5th pick because he's that good. He had that kind of impact at the NCAA level as a rookie, as a freshman, and he was absolutely spectacular. So I have to ask the question though, like, what happens if he's not there? And so this is kind of where I'm at. I have a list in my head, or I've written it down on this rundown, something like that, of who I would like to see in a Kings uniform. This isn't personal. This is my own scouting. This is my own watching of tape and watching interviews and studying the draft like I do. Um, and again, I think of all the players in the Kings range that are going to have a very strong career, like there's a huge group of them. Like I think there's 4 key guys that we're going to talk about. And it's the guys that we did draft profiles on. It is, of course, Darius Acuff. It's Kingston Flemings. It's Keaton Wagler and Michael Brown. When we break down the list, Acuff is number 1 in my book, and that's because that's who I believe the Kings are going to take. If I were going to make this selection, I would have a very difficult time. I'm not a guy who is all about scoring. I'm not a person when I'm watching basketball who is super enthralled by dribbling and by isolation basketball. That's not what I like to watch. I like to watch speed and pace and quickness. And I like to watch teams that share the ball and everybody gets along and everybody has a good time. And you're not just codependent on one player carrying you every step of the way. I lived through the 90s in Sacramento where it was Mitch Richmond or bust. I lived through the early 2000s in Sacramento when it was the greatest show on court. And realistically, I prefer the greatest show on court than having one great player. So when I'm going through this list, after Acuff, and again, Acuff is the guy that I'm going to say number 1 because I do believe that's who the Kings would select if they have the opportunity. After that, my next on the list is Kingston Flemings. I absolutely love his two-way ability. I love his energy and his vibe. For a freshman to step in and earn the respect of his group of a group of veteran players, I thought was super impressive. And the Arkansas team is packed with veterans, a couple of which are in this draft and could go in the late first or early second round. I like his speed and his quickness. If nothing else, I would love to see the Kings get back to that pace and space game. And outside of Acuff, I think Flemings has the best skill set for that type of offense. Lightning quick first step, 3-level scorer, really strong defender, decent rebounder. Again, 3 to 1, close to 3 to 1 assist to turnover ratio, better steals than a guy like Acuff, and again, just a better defensive player. So after that, again, this isn't a slide on Michael Brown or Keaton Wagler. I like them both as prospects as well. When you watch enough tape, you do start to like see the magic behind each of these players. And so I need to, sort of look at it this way. Again, Kingston Flemings and Darius Acuff are the only 2 players to come through Sacramento for an actual meeting and workout with the Kings. They are, I believe, like number 1 and number 2 on the list for the Kings as well. But then when we get to this next group, again, I do like both Wagler and Brown. I would rate Brown higher than Wagler of the next 2 on the board. And there's a couple of things that are a bit of a drawback. I've been really honest about this. Brown's back issues have me slightly concerned. But he might be the most dynamic of all 4 of the guards here. Really, he might be. He's absolutely phenomenal, like super dynamic athlete. Again, could be a very, very top tier scorer and assist man. He's going to need to add some weight. He's going to need to prove that the back issues are not a thing. But I like his defensive ability. He's not a lockdown defender or anything, but I do think He's long and he plays the passing lanes really well. He's a steal guy, gets some breakaways and stuff like that. And then when we get to Wagler, look, I think his shooting ability is amazing. I think his smart play is something that the Kings need as well. They need high IQ basketball players. Um, and anytime you get wild comps, like people start comparing you to Tyrese Halliburton and Steph Curry, that's because you're very good at basketball. He's got a beautiful 3-point shot. I think he will be a very high quality NBA player. He's also bigger than the other three guards. As a guy who measured in at 6'5". So I do think that there's a lot to like there, but I want to see more pace and space. And to me, Wagler is the slowest of the group. He plays at his own pace, which is fine. A lot of players play at their own pace. DeMar DeRozan is known as the guy who no one can change his pace. But I definitely, when I'm looking at him as a player, I'm just a little leery about some of the aggressiveness and stuff like that. So that would be my list. Acuff, Flemings, Michael Brown Jr. and Keaton Wagler. We'll have to wait and see what happens though, because it's the NBA draft. You never know; things can go sideways very, very quickly. And again, I could be wrong. The Kings could be wrong. The odds are at least one of these players won't pan out, and maybe even two. But it's a very good draft, and if the Kings can land Acuff, they're getting a player that ranks near the top of an A+ draft class. It could be worse to have this decision to try to make, again, if Acuff is off the board. All right, let's step aside one more time. The NBA draft starts on Tuesday with the first round on Wednesday. We get the second round where the Kings have the number 34 and number 45 overall picks. Let's dive into what could happen with those selections. Workplace chaos can show up fast. That's where Indeed sponsored jobs comes in. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skill, experience, and location. Finding the right person can make all the difference, whether it's building a business or building a winning team. Here's how I kind of look at it. Some of the best moves organizations make aren't always the splashiest ones. Sometimes it's finding the person who fits exactly what the team needs at the right moment. That's what stood out to me about last season with the Sacramento Kings when they drafted Max Reno with the 42nd overall pick. They didn't know that Domantas Sabonis would get hurt. They didn't know that Max would start 56 games at a rookie. What they did know, he was a smart kid. They knew he was over 7 foot tall. They could look at his college stats and know that he was a 20-10 guy. But they had no idea how it would work out when they got him to the NBA level. It's the same behind Indeed sponsored jobs. It helps you connect organizations with candidates who just fit right from the start, like Max did. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at indeed.com/podcast. Just go to indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All right, we have spent an incredible amount of time talking about the number 7 overall pick in the upcoming draft. That's because it could be a franchise-altering player. But the Kings brought in over 50 prospects with the hopes of finding a diamond in the rough in the second round, like they did last year, or a diamond in the rough in the undrafted free agent market, which they did last year with Dylan Cardwell. They did a really nice job of scouting and of bringing in a ton of players again this year. And again, we've talked about this a little bit here on the show, but the dynamics of the NBA are shifting dramatically over the last couple of seasons. NIL money has made it more advantageous for players to stick around the college game. The transfer portal has opened up so players can move around the country chasing cold, hard cash wherever they want. There are plenty of players at the college level that are making more than second round picks in the NBA are this season. So let that sink in. There are players in this draft who backed out of the draft, pulled their name out of draft contention, so they could go back to college and make more money using NIL money. Okay, so what happened this year is kind of crazy. Most of the players that ventured to Sacramento were out of options. They can't go back to college. Their eligibility was gone, even with the NCAA adding a year of eligibility for most players in the post-pandemic age. There's even players that had 6 years of eligibility during the post-pandemic age. So look, I think when we're looking at these players, it's kind of interesting because they're all around 22 to 24 years old. There might have been one player, two players that they brought in that were, 21, but there's also a couple of guys that maybe were older than 24 years old or going to be older than that. I don't think this is a bad thing. Players are coming into the league, they're better prepared. They are adults, and many of them have played for multiple coaches, learned multiple systems, learn how to move from one spot of the country to the other and adapt and make new friends. These are all traits that actually help when you're going into the NBA. So here's a group of prospects that I just think that kind of stood out. Um, so far, again, it was, I think the number was 55, something like that, right around 55 prospects that came through. Alex Caravan out of UConn, Ryan Conwell out of Louisville, and Trayvon Brazil out of Arkansas all stood out to me. I also found myself right at the end here really intrigued by Milos Uzan from Houston. He reminded me of Keon Ellis as far as like physical tools. Long, athletic, slender build, 3-point shooter, knows his role. Like I really liked him, and also like very alert, very engaging young guy. And so that's a guy that I would put at the sort of the back end if they're gonna maybe find an undrafted free agent to sign to a two-way contract. Caravan is a like bona fide winner with the Huskies. He won 2 national championships. I think he made it to a third. He brings a well-rounded game. He projects as a heady stretch four with toughness and a glue guy. He can really shoot the three ball. Good like probably stretch four at the NBA level. So that's one prospect that I really like. Conwell played alongside Michael Brown at Louisville. He measured in at 6'2" and 215 at the combine, and he's a big time scoring threat that can shoot the lights out. The Kings need shooters. They need some depth potentially at the two, especially if they don't make a big trade here. They might actually need another player too, especially for the future. Both Conwell and Caravan are expected to go in the late first round to early second round, and they might be on the board when the Kings select at number 34. So those are two names to watch. I've touted this guy since the beginning. Trayvon Brazil is one of my personal favorites. Again, when you're watching so much ACUF footage and you keep seeing this crazy long athlete that just jumps off the page, that player is Brazil. So he's got the length and athleticism that the Kings need. He plays the 3, the 4. He measured in at 6'9.5" without shoes at the combine, so close to 6'11", and he has a nearly 7'4" wingspan. He also shot the ball really well when he was in Sacramento. Had a very smooth, very repeatable 3-point shot from what we saw. And look, I think it's possible he might make it to 45, especially if the Kings make some sort of guarantee that other teams aren't willing to do. So again, if you're at 45 and the Kings say, hey, you talk to his agent and say, we're going to give him a full like second round exception where he can get a 3-year deal or 4-year deal. I think that his agent and everyone else will try to work with the Kings to get him here. I also like that if you're going to draft a Cuff Jr., if the Kings do get to draft a Cuff Jr., if you're to bring in one of his college teammates to help him with the transition. But also, this is a player that can really play. And I think he brings something that the Kings just lack, like the length, the super crazy vertical, over 40-inch vert at the combine. Like, there are a lot of things that he does, steals, block shots, three-point shooting, that just, like, to me, are very, very intriguing. And I'm kind of surprised he's this low on some of the draft boards. Maybe he goes earlier too. Maybe they would have to use the 34th pick on him. But either way, really, really intriguing prospect. So, all right, tomorrow's a big day. We'll have you covered as the news breaks all day long, be it the draft pick or trade. I will be at the arena. The Kings are having their draft party at the arena. You can probably still get tickets to go hang out and be part of the draft party. But I think it's going to be a fun day. I don't know if the Kings are going to land the guy they want. I don't know if they're going to make a trade, but everything is on the table, and it should be a very, very intriguing 24 hours, 48 hours, including the second round. And then we're rolling right into, will Zach LaVine opt in? Will he not? What happens with Domas? What happens with DeMar DeRozan? I think it's going to be a really, really intriguing 2 weeks here in Sacramento as the Kings sort of figure out their path forward under Scott Perry. So, all right, make sure to follow me, James _Ham NBA on Twitter, at James _Ham NBA. You can follow me on Blue Sky there as well. Just so you have up to date whatever's going on. I will try to, if something big happens, I will try to, throw together a pod on the fly. But also we'll have a pod tomorrow night for sure. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Kings so you get the latest episodes. Hit the notification button so you get an alert every time we go live. Make sure to jump in the comment section and go crazy on YouTube. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Kings ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedonkings.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure to make your second listen of the day NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. It's going to be fun tomorrow, and if you're a Bucks fan, sorry. It's a tough day to be a Bucks fan. Again, we'll see you tomorrow.